DogWorks Radio is sponsored by Alaska Dog Works. Check out their website at alaskadogworks.com. You can support this podcast on patreon.com/firstpawmedia.
Is stress stressing out your dog? Here's what a new study says. Dogs comfort us when we're sad or stressed, but they might be taking on some of our stress in the process. Here's what you need to know. Sometimes I'll be having a stressful phone call, glance at my dog, and see him staring at me intently. Other times I'll be running around the house and realize that he's rushing around alongside me. If, like me, you've noticed your dog seems particularly attuned to your emotions when you're feeling overwhelmed, you might wonder, can dogs smell stress? We will cover that and much more on this episode.
From First Paw Media, sponsored by Alaska Dog Works Professional Canine Training Center in Anchorage, Alaska. This is DogWorks Radio, committed to families and their dogs to build lifelong and fulfilling relationships. Visit our website at dogworksradio.com. Now, here are your hosts, Robert and Michelle Forto.
Hello and welcome to DogWorks Radio. I'm your host, Michelle Forto. I am the lead trainer of Alaska Dog Works, where we help humans and their dogs have better relationships. At the top, I asked if you think dogs can smell stress. The answer to that question is yes. Numerous studies have shown that dogs can detect the stress hormone cortisol, but it hasn't been clear whether that stress upsets them. A new study published in Scientific Reports may have the answer to your canine buddy's level of empathy and reaction to your stress. I think it's the first study that shows that the odor of human stress affects dogs' emotional state. More specifically, how optimistic and pessimistic they are when they're faced with an uncertain decision, says veterinarian surgeon Zoe Parr-Cortez, the study's lead researcher. So how did researchers determine if dogs felt human stress? To establish a baseline answer, can dogs smell stress? For the purposes of the study, Dr. Parr-Cortez and her team taught 18 dogs that one bowl in a room held a food reward and one did not. Then timed how quickly each dog approached a third mystery bowl to see if it contained a food reward. That mystery bowl contained human breath and sweat samples from people who either completed stressful tasks like public speaking and math tests under pressure or engaged in relaxing activities like listening to soothing music and watching calming videos. The researchers then gave the dogs a cognitive bias test to measure their emotional response to smelling these odors. Dr. Parr-Cortez compared this component of the study to an is the glass half full or half empty experiment. If you show someone a glass that's half filled, whether they think it's half full or half empty is going to depend on their mood at the time or their outlook, that sort of thing, she explains. Instead of half-filled glasses, the canine study used bowls to reveal how optimistic or pessimistic dogs felt. If dogs approached a mystery bowl quickly, it showed optimism about finding a food reward. But after smelling a jar with a stress odor, short bursts just before each decision, according to Dr. Parr-Cortez, the dogs were less likely to approach the bowl. It suggests that the stress smell might have decreased how willing dogs were to risk approaching that bowl, she says. They might have thought it was unlikely to have a reward in it, and it might have been a way for them to avoid being disappointed if they approached the bowl. Does human stress make a dog sad? While it might seem like there's a cause and effect relationship between stress and sadness, Researchers can't say for sure whether human stress actually makes dogs sad, at least in terms of how we would think of that word, according to Dr. Parr Cortez. We can't directly measure emotions like sadness in animals because specific feelings like those can only be self-reported, she explains. As humans, we can assign different names to positive and negative emotions, sadness, anxiety, fear, and they make us behave differently. While we obviously can't ask animals to name their feelings, we can assess their behavior and decisions to suggest whether they're in a positive or negative state. And the study did find that after smelling human stress, the dogs entered a more negative state. We can say that they're being pessimistic, or they're being risk-averse, or they're not wanting to risk something, which we know are associated with negative emotions, Dr. Parr Cortez says. But we can't know for sure whether that's sadness, stress, or being scared. What are the signs you're stressing out your dog? To figure out if your dog is exhibiting signs of stress as a result of your actions and mood, it helps to understand dog behavior. From the weird noises your dog makes to its facial expressions, common dog stress signals include exhibiting whale eye. That's when the whites of their eyes are pronounced, licking their lips, yawning, avoiding their eye contact, tucking their tail between their legs, and flattening their ears. Dogs may also lick their paws when they're anxious. If you notice that your dog seems stressed, use it as a reminder to take a deep breath and try to reduce your stress levels before engaging with your canine buddy, particularly before a training session. We can all use less stress in our lives. How long are dogs affected by a human stressor? The study didn't test how long dogs are affected by human stress, simply whether they were immediately affected by smelling a jar with the scent of human stress. Each dog would smell the jar for 20 seconds before being released into the room with 3 bowls. We know that a short exposure was enough to influence their response, Dr. Parr Cortez says, but we don't know how long these effects might last. It's worth noting that in this study, the stress samples came from strangers, not the dog's owners. Separate studies published in scientific reports have found that popular herding dog breeds mirror the long-term stress levels of their owners, and that long-term stress in dogs is related to the human-canine relationship and owners' personality traits. We're going to take a short break here, and when we come back, we're going to talk about how you can help your dog feel stress less.
Got a dog training problem? There's a podcast for that to stay updated on everything dogs do on DogWorks Radio. A podcast hosted by master dog trainers and business coaches, Robert and Michelle Forto. Every week, they will introduce you to pet professionals with unique insights on dogs in the veterinary world, in books and films, and working with canines. The podcast also answers questions like how long does it take to train a puppy, or what are the different training styles? Get some surprising answers on DogWorks Radio, wherever you listen to podcasts.
All right, so how can you help your dog feel less stressed? A couple important ways we can help decrease dog anxiety and stress are by using only positive training methods, which involve rewards instead of punishment, and training our pets when we're feeling calm, according to Dr. Parr Cortez. In fact, she says the study is a reminder of how close dogs and humans have become. Our moods affect one another. She's personally witnessed it in her relationship with her own dog, Darwin, a retired racing greyhound. It's quite fascinating that as species, we've become this close. I think it's just important to appreciate that emotional intelligence, that dogs seem to have both negative and positive emotions, she says. So I think the main takeaway is to be considerate and compassionate about your dog's emotions, avoid negative punishment, and increase your positive, fun interactions. Go do something fun with your dog, and it'll make you both feel better. Try taking a long walk with your canine buddy, visiting a local pet store to pick out a toy or treat, engaging in a proper play session, or even giving your dog a puzzle to figure out while you engage in some R&R. Do dogs smell other emotions? Well, since we know dogs can smell stress, it's natural to wonder, can dogs smell emotions? Sure enough, dogs can smell emotions like anger, happiness, and fear, and their behavior will change in response. This intuitive species can take cues from scent and other clues like our body language, facial expressions, and vocal tones. Empathy may also be at play. Another recent study published in Animal Behavior found dogs became stressed listening to recordings of humans crying. Dr. Par Cortez hopes to expand on her research in the future. I think moving forward, it would be interesting to test things like happiness odors or really deep relaxation human odors on this cognitive bias test and see if that has a positive effect on their mood, she says. As a former therapy dog handler, I spent 5 years visiting hospital patients with my Labrador Retriever mix Rio. My loving, loyal dog seemed to intuitively know when to calmly lay his chin on a patient's knee when they were feeling sad and when to wiggle with excitement to meet a happy child, whatever would offer the most comfort in any situation. So even as science continues to expand our knowledge of dogs, there's something special about the power of the human-canine bond that I'm not sure can be quantified, says Dr. Par Cortez. Ultimately, what dogs want is often what we want, to be happy together. Can dogs smell stress and be negatively affected by it? Yes. Does spending time with dogs decrease our stress? Of course, and science proves it. So do yourself and your dog a favor and spend as much time as you can unwinding from daily stress by exercising, playing, and relaxing together, says Dr. Par Cortez. Well, did you know that Alaska Dog Works trains service dogs, therapy dogs, and canine buddies? We offer a free discovery call. You can schedule yours today. So what do you think? Did you learn anything new about your canine buddy? Before we end the show, let's press pause for a sec. Maybe ask yourself, why did this resonate with me? What aspect of my relationship with my canine buddy could I apply this to? And what am I going to do differently this week to make my dog's training a little easier? So take some time to mull it over, talk it out with a family member or trusted friend. Put some of those ideas down in your training journal and then check back next week for our next episode. As always, I look forward to hearing your thoughts. So reach out over on X at First Paw Media and let's spark a conversation. Until then, keep going. You're doing great. It is time to create the relationship with your dog that you've always dreamed of. And thanks for listening to DogWorks Radio. You can find the show notes for this episode and all others at alaskadogworks.com. And if you know someone in your life who needs help with their dog's training, be a hero and share our podcast with them. And we will see you next time.
If you like what you have heard, we would love it if you could give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe too. Your hosts are Robert and Michelle Forto. Our producer is Robert Forto and created for First Paw Media.
Why trust us? At DogWorks Radio, we're committed to producing high-quality content by a team with expertise and experience in their field in consultation with relevant qualified experts. From this piece on whether dogs can smell stress, Michelle Forto tapped her experience as a longtime dog trainer, podcaster, and a dog owner. We rely on reputable primary sources, including government and professional organizations and academic institutions, as well as our writers' personal experiences where appropriate. We verify all facts and data, back them with credible sourcing, and revisit them over time to ensure they remain accurate and up to date. Read more about our team, our contributors, and our editorial policies on our website, Alaska Dog Works.